Hello everyone. April is National Adrenal Disease Awareness Month, so I figured this is a good time to make this video. I wanted to talk about low cortisol and how to recognize it and recognize when you need to take medication or if you don't. So I've seen a lot of discussion about it lately, so I figured I would make a video. If you're new to this channel, my name is Michelle, and I talk on this channel about my journey with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer, and then in the course of treatment for that and immunotherapy, I developed Central Adrenal Insufficiency, and that happened about 15 months ago now. So I have a little practice, and I think I've gotten a little bit better at recognizing the signs of low cortisol. So I'm going to put a graphic here that I got from one of the Facebook groups. It was either NADF or Adrenal Insufficiency United or Living with Addison's Disease, like Facebook group. I don't know who to give credit to, but I will link to either the Facebook groups or at least to NADF. Oh, and I got a phone call. I will link to NADF and Adrenal Insufficiency United, which are both great resources to get information about low cortisol and treating adrenal insufficiency. So basically, when I start to get low, and so this can happen with any kind of stress, and it can happen from stress that you don't even realize. So, a lot of doctors will talk about medical stressors, like, okay, when I was in treatment for cancer and having chemotherapy or surgery or radiation, it was known that my body was being stressed. And I knew to updose, but I did start to really pay attention, and I journal my symptoms and so forth. So I learned to pay attention to what were the symptoms that would come on that would indicate that I was running low. And the other thing is I'm taking hydrocortisone daily, and so I take that several times a day. So my normal baseline dose right now for hydrocortisone is 15 milligrams at 6 a.m., 10 milligrams at noon, 5 milligrams at 6 p.m. for a total of 30 for the day. And then occasionally I will also do 2.5 at bedtime, especially if I have a hard time kind of settling down and going to sleep. It actually helps me sleep, because if my cortisol is too low, that also will keep me awake. Now, if I know I'm having or going to have a particularly busy or stressful day that's going to be taxing, if I'm traveling, if there's something, just several appointments in a row that I really need to take care of, then I'll actually change it around a little bit, where I'll do the 15 milligrams at 6 a.m. or maybe 20, especially if I have an early morning appointment, 20 milligrams at 6 a.m. Then I'll do 5 milligrams at 10 a.m. and the 10 milligrams will move to 2 p.m. and then 5 milligrams at 6 p.m. and 2.5 at bedtime. So I'll get an extra 5 milligrams or 5 or 10 milligrams in the day, but it's a little bit more kind of consistent throughout the day, where I'm replacing the steroids or the cortisol that I would be making. So what happens is, if your HPA excess functions as it should and your body is able to produce cortisol, you would be making extra cortisol to deal with anything stressful or exciting or even just busy that happens throughout the day. Very minute adjustments. It's not a lot, but your body would be producing that. And because I don't make any cortisol, I have to do that manually. And sometimes it's a guessing game. And sometimes I don't even know that I'm stressed. My body might be fighting off a cold, and it's successful at fighting off a cold, but I don't know that my immune system is taking more cortisol. Or, allergy season is here. I have, luckily, knock on wood, not have had many issues with that this year, at least so far. But that can be taxing on your system. I could have a hidradenitis flare or something that would be taxing. My daughter's hockey tryouts. Hockey tryouts are always so stressful. Traveling, for sure. And so every once in a while, I'll even do dexamethasone in the morning just so I have a more consistent drop throughout the day, because dexamethasone has a longer half-life and it kind of lasts all day long, like 18 hours, and very slowly kind of tapers in your system. So I'll probably still do like a 10 milligrams of hydrocortisone in the afternoon sometime, if I do take a dex in the morning, but that's it. And so for traveling, that's easier. Now, it is not as biologically similar as hydrocortisone is, as far as replacing what my body would be making anyway. So dexamethasone isn't really a first line steroid to use for adrenal insufficiency, because it's just not as similar, biologically speaking, as hydrocortisone is. So, all right, so how do we know when we're getting low? So again, I had mentioned already, like not being able to calm down and fall asleep. So like anxiousness, or just kind of a busy brain, like thinking of you know, how you can't calm down, like it's normal. Like that's why they tell you that you might have high cortisol. It's not that it's high, it's that you have fluctuations in your cortisol level that, you know, if you have a functioning adrenal system, it might affect your ability to sleep properly. So not being able to sleep might be a symptom, but that wouldn't necessarily be noticeable during the day. So usually my first symptom that my cortisol may be dipping is just a general kind of grumpiness, or short-tempered, or just like everything annoys me. Like noises annoy me. You know, someone will say something and I just like, I don't want to talk to you right now. That little bit of grumpiness, because that's just not really like me. So if that is part of your normal personality, maybe that's not a good symptom for you to look for. But for me, that's unusual. Like I'm usually pretty chill with in my interactions with people, and they don't usually get on my nerves. So that might be a good first symptom to alert me that something may be happening, and maybe I don't need to necessarily do anything about that. And then the next symptom that I usually get almost every time is flank pain. And so again, I'm gonna put a graphic up. I may have put it already, but this might be a good spot to put it, of like a little kind of flow chart. It's not really a flow chart, it's some sort of a diagram that has low cortisol symptoms and then crisis symptoms. And so you can take a look at that. I'll put it right here. How's that? So you can see the different symptoms, and there is some overlap between low cortisol and crisis. Okay, I'm not sure how long I'm going to leave that up, but I'll leave it up long enough to narrate and just kind of point out to you, or let you look at it. You can pause the video there, of course, as well, and take a look at that. But for me personally, my symptom, first it's the grumpiness, and then it's the flank pain, or lower abdominal pain, or on my sides, that's the flank. And it can even radiate around to the back as well. And it's just like cramps. It's almost like menstrual cramps, but not quite like menstrual cramps. It's just kind of this crampy pain that it's dull, and if I do nothing, it gets worse, and might feel like I have to have a bowel movement, but then I don't, or I might have diarrhea, because sometimes it will absolutely trigger diarrhea as well. So that would be another symptom, maybe not necessarily in that order. The next thing that I have on my list, so grumpiness or short-tempered, and then the flank pain, and then the next thing is confusion, or it's not really confusion. It's not like I'm confused about what's going on or where I am or anything like that. It's more like an inability to focus a thought. Often I actually won't even try and speak because the sentence will not make sense. So that's my next symptom, and I'm calling that confusion. I'm not disoriented. I know where I am. I know what's going on, but it's like, why can't I finish the thought? And you know, I'll have to concentrate and really try and focus my energy on completing a thought in my head, and like, what do I need to do now? And that's usually about the time that I start thinking, oh, maybe this is low cortisol. then I have diarrhea on my list. If I notice at this point, I will take a look and my heart rate will be elevated. So usually it's 90 or above. Often it's above 100. Usually it's around 120 at that point. So elevated heart rate would be the next symptom. And then I have just the lightheaded and dizziness. So I might get lightheaded, or almost like I don't want to say like I can't take a deep breath, because it's not shortness of breath, but lightheadedness definitely when I stand up or if I am exerting myself. And then it may also be dizziness as well. So to me, lightheadedness and dizziness are related but different. And so both of those would be perhaps in rapid succession, or just the lightheadedness would be the earlier symptom. Dizziness would be a little bit more like, hello, it's time to take something. And that's usually the point where I would take something. And again, if I took my blood pressure, it would usually be low. Although your blood pressure can go really high before it goes low. So blood pressure low, if it's not low, that doesn't rule out that this is low cortisol. Then I have diarrhea and some nausea. Usually if I do have diarrhea, I'm going to get nauseous as well. And then the next thing is dizziness, and I will have a feeling like the room is spinning, or like I'm rocking back and forth like on a boat. So that will happen as well, usually around that time. And then the next symptom is this tingling sensation, like all over, like my body is vibrating at a different frequency than the world around me. And so everything tingles, like all over my body, I'll get tingling. And it might start in my hands and feet and then move up, but that tingling sensation is a definite sign of low cortisol for me. That's a sign that I have waited too long to take medication usually. And that is definitely something that is familiar to me from my adrenal crisis. So once I get to that point, if I haven't already, I will usually, if it gets to that point, I will take a high dose of steroids, like 20 milligrams minimum. If it's getting to the point where I have that tingling sensation all over my body, it's pretty serious. And usually, again, nausea comes with that. And if I do vomit and I can't keep down oral meds, then I need to do the emergency injection and go to the emergency room. So I don't want to get to that point. So I might even be taking too much, but it's better to take too much because it'll get out of your system in 8 hours anyway, than not take anything. If you don't make your own cortisol, you're not really going to overdose. You might have too much in the short term, but you need to, kind of build it back up first before you worry about that. And it does come out of your system. And as long as this isn't something that's happening on a daily basis, it shouldn't be an issue. So for me, I will, at that point, if I get to that point, take 20. But if I catch it early, if I catch it with usually I'm looking for 2 or 3 symptoms at the minimum. So if I have some grumpiness and some confusion and the flank pain is increasing, so the abdominal cramps are getting worse, then I'll take 5 milligrams. And if I feel better in a half an hour with nothing else changing, then I know that I was going low there. So I should keep that in mind and maybe, make sure to, not be late on my next dose. If I take an extra dose, I may delay my next dose a little bit, especially if it's like within a few hours, but oftentimes I don't. I just get right back on schedule. That was just an extra bump that I needed, and then I'll get right back on my normal schedule. If it's like, say it happened at 11 a.m. and I know I'm gonna take 10 at noon, well, I'll just take my 10 at 11 a.m. and then that's what we'll do for the day. So that's kind of how I manage that. Those are the symptoms I'm looking for. So symptoms of low cortisol, and I will updose, usually just a little bit if I catch it early. If it gets to the point where everything's kind of vibrating, then I'm going to take at least 20. If I don't feel better in 20 to 30 minutes, then I will take another dose. Like I have had it happen recently where I got to that point, I took 20 minutes later, I felt a little better, but I still didn't feel right. I still had the abdominal cramping, and it wasn't getting better. And it was like, 40 minutes later, I took another 20 because I'm like, I need to get ahead of it. Because if you just take enough, you may still end up being in a deficit, and then it'll just keep happening. So that's what I've learned so far as far as managing my low cortisol. My endocrinologist told me that I'm doing really well with this. And I've even had other people, in the groups with adrenal insufficiency tell me that they're impressed with how much I've learned to recognize in my own body and respond to it. Because again, my body would be doing this automatically if it worked properly. I have to do it manually. The other thing is, anytime I get low and I need to updose, I also need to make sure that I'm updosing my electrolytes as well. And so if you don't know, my preferred brand is Element. I like this raw, unflavored version. It's basically just makes my water taste salty. Get it in a water bottle. I take at least one of these every day anyway. And if I'm updosing, I'm also gonna updose the Element. And I will also put a link in the description with my little salty status code. I'm not an affiliate or anything with Element, but if you do use the link in the description and you wanted to try it, any order will get you a free sample pack, which has all of their flavors in it. There's like 8 flavors, so you can try them out and see what ones you like, but you do have to make a purchase to get that. And then every once in a while, I'll get a free box because of the people that I've referred, but it's not, I don't make money on that at all, but that's that. So yeah, let me know down below if you have adrenal insufficiency and what you've learned about what symptoms you have for low cortisol. And if you find this helpful, then like and subscribe. I do try, and I don't make videos like every day or every week, but I do try and put them out there once in a while, and I'm trying to just make things that people will find helpful. So see you soon.